Good morning, ladies. It's Mr. O'Sullivan. Today we're going to be looking at lesson 4-7, factoring basic trinomials where a is equal to 1. Today's learning target is I can apply factoring techniques by rewriting the trinomial using the AM method. Before we go any deeper, you're going to see that I have two things on my screen. I have the notes and I have the factor pairs from 1 to 100. You are allowed to use the factor pairs from 1 to 100 sheet. I want to make sure that you're comfortable with them, and I want to make sure that you know how to use this sheet, and I'll be going over explicitly how to do everything. So before we dive deeper, factoring is an essential process in mathematics that allows us to rearrange an expression and determine essential information about it. For instance, we can factor an expression and determine its solutions rather easily. We can also draw a graph just off its factors, and it reverses the process of the box method, which we learned last week. So one of the things we're going to be looking at a lot is AM, diamond, X, factors, multiply, sum, all that stuff. So right here we have this diamond and we want to fill in the following blanks, or the missing blanks, my apologies. What this diamond means is I have two numbers, a 10 and a 7, and I want to find out what those blanks are. It means what two numbers have a product of 10 and a sum of 7. So when I say the word product, I'm really meaning multiply. So I want to multiply to 10 and add to 7. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the number 10 and list down our factors of 10. And in this case, they are 1 and 10 and 2 and 5. So if you look, I have a 1 and a 10 and a 2 and a 5. So we're going to do some guess and check. So I'm going to put a 1 and a 10 in. I'm going to say to myself, 1 times 10 is 10. That works. But what's 1 plus 10? It's an 11. I want a 7. So it can't be my 1 and my 10. Now what we're going to do is we're going to do our 2 and our 5. 2 times 5 is 10. That works. 2 plus 5 is 7. That works. So what we did was we basically actually just did a little factoring example without knowing we were factoring. So the general form of a trinomial is ax squared plus bx plus c. When factoring a trinomial into a pair of binomials, the goal is to find the factors that multiply to c and choose the factors that add to b. So this is a very, very straightforward procedure. If you follow this procedure to a T, you will get every single factoring question correct. So let's look at it a little deeper. So steps for factoring a trinomial when a is equal to 1. We have this example, x squared plus 7x plus 12, and we want to factor it. So I'm going to rewrite x squared plus 7x plus 12. Step 1. Identify the terms that you want to add to and multiply to. Put an A and an M over them. So ladies, the first thing you do in the morning, or the AM, you wake up and you factor. So I wake up and then I factor. I want to add up to a 7 and multiply to a 12. Okay, so that's exactly all you do for step 1. You put your A and your M. Step 2, now list all the factors of the term that you want to multiply to. So I want to multiply to a 12. So I'm going to go to the number 12, and I'm going to basically rewrite what I want to multiply to. So I want to multiply to a 12. So I write 12, and it's 1 and 12, 2 and 6, and 3 and 4. That's all you do right now. Step 3, draw your diamond you want to multiply to. Put the number you want to multiply to on the top and the number you want to add to on the bottom. So I'm going to draw my diamond, giving you a heads up. Mr. O'Sullivan has a degree in math. He does not have a degree in art. So he does not know how to draw a diamond perfectly. So he's just going to draw an X. I'm going to put my 12 on top, because that's what I want to multiply to, and my 7 on the bottom, because that's what I want to add to. So if you want, you can do like a little dot here to show you want to multiply to it, and a plus to show you want to add to it. So here's what we do now. We just did that. We put the number on top, the number on the bottom. Number 4, go through your factor pairs. Determine which pair of numbers makes the diamond work. So I'm going to put my 1 and 12 in. I'm going to change the color now. Mr. O'Sullivan loves changing colors. So I'm going to put my 1 and 12 in. So my 1 and my 12. 1 times 12 is 12. That works. But 1 plus 12 is 13, not 7. I wanted a 7. So I'm going to erase my 1 and my 12 because that doesn't work. And I'm going to cross it out because I'm done with it. Now I'm going to put my 2 and my 6. 2 times 6 is 12. But guess what 2 plus 6 is? Not 7. It's 8. So I can't use my 2 and my 6. Now I'm really hoping this 3 and 4 work. So I put in my 3 and my 4. 3 times 4 is 12. I like it so far, but let's hope it doesn't fail this time. Now I do 3 plus 4, and 3 plus 4 is 7. So I know that this is the factor pair that makes this expression work. Now, step 5, write your final answer as a product of two binomials. So my final answer is x plus 3 times x plus 4. Just like this. Make sure you put parentheses. And that's your final answer. But you're probably like, Mister, how do I know this is correct? I don't know. I'm kidding you. I actually do know how this is correct, and I'm going to show you. We can actually check our answer by using the box method to simplify this. So if I want to check, I'm going to do it in a different color now. Let's do a check. So I have x plus 3 times x plus 4. We're going to do the box method. So I'm going to draw my box. See, I can draw a box perfectly. I'm going to put in my terms. So I'm going to put in my x plus 3 and my x plus 4. So x plus 3, x plus 4. We know x times x is x squared. We know x times 3 is 3x. We know 4 times x is 4x. And we know 4 times 3 is 12. I know, because if you listened to me talk during the box method lesson, you would know that my diagonals have my like terms. So I can actually do my simplification in my box. So my final answer is x squared. 3x plus 4x is 7x. And then I get a 12. That's how I check. If you look, I ended with an x squared plus 7x plus 12. I started with an x squared plus 7x plus 12. And all you got to do is do your diamond. All right, now we're going to factor each of the following expressions. So remember, step 1, identify the terms you want to add to and multiply to. Put an a and an m over them. So I want to add to 14 and multiply to 48. So I want to factor p squared plus 14p plus 48. So now I draw my factor, I rewrite my factor pairs of 48. So if you look, I zoom in on this sheet, and I got a lot of factor pairs. So I got a lot of them I have to write. It's a little annoying, but I promise you, it's not that bad. I got 1 and 48, 2 and 24, 3 and 16, 4 and 12, and then I got 6 and 8. Now I draw my diamond. Gonna draw my diamond again. Mr. O'Sullivan has a degree in math, not a degree in art. And you put the number you want to multiply to up top and the number you want to add to downstairs. Again, if you want, you can put a little dot up here and then a plus sign here. That way you know you want to add and multiply. So I go through my list. 1 and 48. Well, I know that all of these are going to multiply to 48, which is nice. So let's just really look at their sum. 1 times 48 is 48. Ooh, let me change my colors. One times 48 works because it gives me a 48, but 1 plus 48 is 49. I want a 14. Can't be that one. So I'm going to cross that factor pair out. 2 and 24. 2 times 24 is 48. That works, but 2 plus 24 is 26, not 14. That doesn't work. 3 and 16 now. So I do my 3 and my 16. 3 times 16 is 48, but 3 plus 16 is 19. I'm getting closer, but it's not a 14. Now I do my 4 and my 12. Hopefully this works. I'm getting a little tired. 4 times 12 is 48, but 4 plus 12 is 16. Not a 14, sadly. It doesn't work. Now I do my 6 and my 8. Let's hope it works. 6 times 8 is 48. 6 plus 8 is 14. That works. So my final answer is p plus 6, p plus 8. Make sure you use the variable p, because if you put an x on delta math, it's going to mark it wrong. You need to make sure your variable is consistent. Okay, number 2. I have x squared plus x minus 72. The first thing I want to do is I want to find out what adds and multiplies. This is really a 1x. I want to add to a 1 and multiply to a negative 72. So the first thing we do is we go to the number 72, And we write down all of our factors, and guess what? We've got a bunch. So I write out my factors of 72. We don't pay attention to it being negative just yet. So I got 1 and 72, 2 and 36, 3 and 24, 4 and 18, 6 and 12, 8 and 9. So I now draw my diamond. I put my negative 72 up top, because look, it's a negative 72. And then I put my 1 downstairs. I want to multiply, I want to add. So we're going to go through. One of them's got to be a negative number. This is going to be a tricky one. We can sort of just like go through this and sort of be like, which of these will give us a 1? 1 and 72 will never get me close to 1. So I know it can't be my 1 and my 72. It also definitely can't be my 2 or 36, my 3 and 24, my 4 and 18, or my 6 and my 12. None of those combinations will ever give me a 1. However, in my head, if I think about it, an 8 and a 9 could. So let's put an 8 and a 9 in our diamond. So I know 8 times 9 is positive 72. I want a negative 72. So what that is telling me is one of these numbers has to be negative. I'm going to make my 9 negative. 8 times negative 9 is negative 72. That works. But 8 plus a negative 9 is not a positive 1. It's a negative 1. I want a positive 1. So what we're going to do is we're going to keep our 8 and our 9, but we're going to make them our 8 negative. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do some erasing. Negative 8 times 9 is negative 72. That works. Negative 8 plus 9 is a positive 1. That works. So my factors are x minus 8 and x plus 9. And that's your final answer. Let's go on to our next example. I have x squared minus 5x plus 6. The first thing I do is I want to write down what I add to and what I multiply to. Add to a negative 5, multiply to a 6. So if I look, I only have 2 factors of 6. I have 1 and 6 and 2 and 3. So I'm going to write 6 is equal to 1 times 6 and 2 and 3. So what's weird about this one is I actually have to test each of these because I'm not sure which of these will give me a negative 5, because I could make a 5 out of a 1 and a 6, and I can make a 5 out of a 2 and a 3. So I want to multiply to a positive 6 and add up to a negative 5. So this is where your number sense has to come into play. I want to add up to a negative 5, which is weird. So if you think about it, I want to multiply to a positive 6. So if I put a 1 and a 6 here, 1 times 6 is 6, but 1 plus 6 is 7. That doesn't work because I wanted a negative 5. But here's what else I can do. I can make them both negative. Negative 1 times negative 6 is a positive 6. But negative 1 plus negative 6 is not negative 5, it's negative 7. So I cannot use my 1 and my 6, which means it has to be my 2 and my 3. But let's see. 2 times 3 is 6. 2 plus 3 is 5, not negative 5. I want a negative. So let's make them both negative. Negative 2 times negative 3 is a positive 6. And negative 2 plus negative 3 is negative 5. We just factored to be x minus 2, x minus 3. Again, after a while, you should be trying these examples by yourself. In this example, I have a squared plus 12a plus 20. First thing you do, what do I add to? I add to a 12 and I multiply to a 20. I now list all my factors of 20. My factors of 20 are 1 and 20, 2 and 10, and 4 and 5. And I did that just by looking at my factor pair sheet. I now draw my diamond with my 20 on top and my 12 downstairs. I want to multiply to a 20 and add to a 12. I go through my list. 1 and 20, that definitely won't work. I just know it's not going to work because 1 times 20 is 20, but 1 plus 20 is 12. Now I'm going to try my 2 and my 10. 2 times 10 is 20, that works. 2 plus 10 is 12, that works. So I get a plus 2, a plus 10. Final answer. Now I have y squared minus 16y plus 39. First thing I do, I want to find out what adds up to a negative 16 and multiplies to a 39. So I write out all my factors of 39. 1 and 39, and 3 and 13. I now draw my diamond. I put my 39 upstairs, and it's a positive 39. And I put my negative 16 downstairs. And I want to add to a negative 16 and multiply to a 39. So let's look at this. What do I put where? So if you think about it, my 39 is positive. So I know two positives multiply to a positive and two negatives multiply to a positive. I want to add up to a negative number, though. So if I think about the numbers in my head, I can't get a negative number by adding two positive numbers. I can only get it by adding two negative numbers. So if I do negative 1 and negative 39, that does give me a 39 because I multiply them. But negative 1 plus negative 39 is not negative 16. It's actually negative 40. So I know that this combination can't work. So let's do our negative 3 and our negative 13. So negative 3 times negative 13 is 39. That works. Negative 3 plus negative 13 is negative 16. That also works. So this is my winning pair. So my factors are y minus 3 and y minus 13. Number 6. Occasionally, like, once every year, you're going to be given an example where your polynomial or your trinomial is not in standard form. So the first thing you have to do whenever you want to factor, you need to make sure that polynomial is in standard form. So remember, we're going to flip it around. My b squared comes first. It's positive, because look, it's positive. I then write my minus 6b. You always write highest exponent to lowest. And now look, I have a minus 16. I could actually factor this now just by looking at it. Well, at least I can. I want to add up to a negative 6 and multiply to a negative 16. So I go to the number 16, and I write out everything that multiplies to a 16. Again, we don't care that it's negative. We'll save that for the diamond. And I get 1 and 16, 2 and 8, and 4 and 4. I hope that you can see which of these will give me a 6. I hope you can see that it's not going to be a 4 and a 4, and it's not going to be a 1 and a 16. I hope that you realize that it's a 2 and an 8. So we're going to draw our diamond. We put our negative 16 up top, because that's what you want to multiply to. And then you put your negative 6 downstairs, because that's what you want to add to. So I'm telling you right now, we know it has to be the 2 and the 8. It can't be the 1 and 16. It can't be the 4 and 4. So I put my 2 and my 8 in here. I say to myself, what's 2 times 8? It's a positive 16. I want a negative 16. So that's telling me, mister, I got to have a negative. So let's make our 2 negative. Let's see what that does. Negative 2 times 8 is negative 16. That works. But negative 2 plus 8 is not a negative 6. It's a positive 6. And if I look, I just write that in. Negative 2 plus 8 is positive 6. I wanted a negative 6. So what we're going to do is we're going to change our 2 to be positive. And we're going to make our 8 negative. 2 times negative 8, negative 16. It works. 2 plus negative 8 is a negative 6. That is what I wanted. So I want it to be a 2 and a negative 8. So when I factor this, I get b plus 2, b minus 8. And that's your final answer. Okay. Occasionally, there will be some instances where your leading coefficient is greater than 1. Whenever this pops up, make sure that you pull out a GCF if a GCF can be pulled out. If it can't be pulled out, then that will require tricky trinomial factoring, which we're not going to learn tomorrow. This is a typo. We're going to learn it on Wednesday during Zoom. Tomorrow, you're going to learn it about difference of two squares factoring. My apologies. So, number 7. I have 2n squared plus 6n minus 108. If I look at this, I have a leading term, a leading coefficient of a 2. Did you check for a GCF? We're checking right now. So I'm going to put yes right now. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to rewrite this expression. So 2n squared plus 6n minus 108. I'm giving you the heads up for all these examples. You just look at your leading term and try to divide every single term by it. So if I look, I have a 2, I'm going to divide everything by a 2. So I have a 2, a 2, and a 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1, so I get n squared. 6n divided by 2 is 3n, because 6 divided by 2 is 3. And then 108 divided by 2 is 54, so I get a minus 54. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to make sure we put this in parentheses, and we're going to put our GCF of a 2 in front. Because if you look, we divided every term by 2. Now what I do is I just go to the side of my paper, and I want to factor that n squared plus 3n minus 54. I want to add up to 3 and multiply to negative 54. So I list everything that multiplies to 54. And in this case, there's 4 combinations. I get a 1 in 54, 2 in 27, 3 in 18, and a 6 and a 9. I hope that you can tell me I hope that you can look at this and tell me which one will give me a 3. I see it right away. So I'm going to draw my diamond to put my negative 54 up top, my 3 downstairs. Remember, you want to multiply negative 54 and you want to add to 3. So if I look, I know it can't be a 1 in 54 because that will never come near a 3. 2 and 27 will never come close to a 3, and 3 and 18 will never come close to a 3. So I know I'm dealing with my 6 and my 9. So let's put our 6 and 9 in these missing blanks. If we look, 6 times 9 is positive 54. I want a negative 54. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make my 9 negative. 6 times negative 9 is negative 54. That works. But 6 plus a negative 9 is negative 3. I want a positive 3. So let's change it up. Let's make our 6 negative. So negative 6 times 9 is negative 54. That works. And negative 6 plus 9 is positive 3. That works. Smiley face. So when I factor this, I get n minus 6 times n plus 9. So we go back and we make that substitution. So my final answer is 2 times n minus 6 times n plus 9. And that's your final answer. You always need to write your GCF in front. So now we have 2k squared plus 22k plus 60. I'm going to rewrite it. The first thing we do is we look to see if we can divide everything by 2. Let's try it. Divide everything by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1, so I get 1k squared. 22 divided by 2 is 11, so I get 11k. And then 60 divided by 2 is 30, so I get a 30. Make sure you put that 2 in front of your parentheses because that's your GCF. I now want to factor k squared plus 11k plus 30. So I want to add up to 11 and multiply to 30. So if I look over here, I'm going to write down everything that multiplies to 30. So I have 30, I get 1 and 30, 2 and 15, 3 and 10, and 5 and 6. I hope that you see this combination right now. So I'm going to draw my diamond, put in my 30, I want to multiply to it, and my 11, I want to add to it. So 1 times 30 is 30, that works, but 1 plus 30 is not 11. 2 times 15 is 30, but 2 plus 15, not 11. 3 times 10 is 30, but 3 plus 10, not 11. 5 times 6, let's look, is 30. 5 plus 6 is 11. So that works. So my factors are k plus 5 and k plus 6. Now we just make that substitution back into our original expression. And I have 2 times k plus 5 times k plus 6. And that's your final answer. So yes, we did check. Ooh, that looked ugly. So if you have any questions, email myself, Miss Townsend, or Miss Jimenez. Have a great day, ladies, and please, please, please don't forget to do your Ed puzzle. Not your Ed puzzle, your Delta math.